UFC fighters are by far not only some of the best martial artists in the world, but some of the best athletes to ever walk this planet. However, just like any other sport, the UFC has seen its share of fighters who cheated their way to the top, making it seem as if they were one of the most dominant fighters in the business. In this video, we are going to discuss our top 5 picks for fighters who were caught cheating. Number 5. Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern quickly gained the attention of the MMA world from her jiu-jitsu background. She had fans on their toes when she entered the UFC back in 2018, making many believe she had the potential to become champion one day. That all seemed to come into question with her weight-cutting issues. This came to light against Amanda Cooper at UFC 224, as Dern weighed in at 123 pounds, 7 pounds over the strawweight limit of 116. She would defeat Cooper in the first round, but having an extra 7 pounds gave her more power to control Cooper. To add to this speculation, Dern had trouble maintaining the strawweight limit during weight cuts in the past. Though she had weight-cutting issues, fans believed Dern to compete in the strawweight division only to continue to have the weight advantage over her opponents. Number 4. Hector Lombard. There was no question that Hector Lombard was a beast in his prime, which made him a favorite to possibly become the welterweight champion soon. That changed after his fight against Josh Burkman at UFC 182, which he had originally won via unanimous decision, but his win was then overturned after he tested positive for anabolic steroid DMT. He would then be suspended for a year, and upon his return, he could not get back to his prime level. He would go on to lose his next 6 fights in both welterweight and middleweight classes, thus revealing the true fighter he was. Turns out that without steroids or any performance-enhancing drugs, Lombard could not keep up with the talent the UFC had to offer. Number 3. Germaine De Randamie. Germaine De Randamie always brought impressive striking abilities to every one of her fights. She could rock their world with just one punch and proved why she was a true contender for UFC gold. However, when she fought for the gold at UFC 208 against former bantamweight champion Holly Holm, she looked to do all in her power to become champion, even if it meant throwing illegal punches. She did just that by throwing several punches at Holly Holm after the bell had sounded in between rounds. Holm clearly stopped fighting, but De Randamie continued to fight and even wobbled Holm. Making matters worse was that the referee did not even bother to deduct any points from De Randamie, which was completely unprofessional from a referee for allowing a fighter to cheat. Regardless if they were intentional or not, De Randamie should have not been given the win. Number 2. Jon Jones. No question, Jon Jones is by far one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest to ever compete in the UFC. He seemed unstoppable, but even then, Jones has gone his way by cheating. No, we're not talking about his positive drug test, even though that is cheating. We are going to focus on his consistent eye gouging. Jones enjoys to keep his fist open when pointing his arms right at his opponents. This has often resulted in his fingers coming into contact with his opponent's eyes, thus causing fights to be paused. He has had times when the officials have addressed him during fights, but even that doesn't seem to stop him from continuing this action. Another reason he seems to continue this is for when the fights are paused, it gives him time to recover, which only is allowed in between rounds. Number 1. Anderson Silva. The first thing that comes to mind when people hear the name Anderson Silva is greatness, and there is no question about it, as he was by far the most dominant middleweight champion the UFC ever saw, with 10 successful wins. He looked to be unbeatable, so fans in the UFC wondered how he became such a phenomenal fighter. The question looked to be answered after he tested positive for drostanolone and androsterone after his fight against Nick Diaz. He would then go on to lose 5 of his next 6 fights, and in those fights, he would perform poorly and fight as if he did not want to be fighting anymore. Now, some will argue that the reason for his weak performances in later matches is from his age, as he was nearing the end of his career. That could have been one reason for his downfall, but after his failed drug test, he never could show us the Anderson Silva we all grew to enjoy and believe to retire from the sport as the champion. And that is our list. Agree with our list? Are there any fighters you believe should be on here? Tell us in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button and follow us on all of our social media platforms.